Back for another edition of In the Huddle. Carl Dukes, put him up, along with my man Brian Baldinger. Of course, Jason Canfora, a part of this podcast as well. And man, it's been a busy week. Mandatory minicamp for all the teams around the National Football League, and everybody will finish up this week, and then they get a break. But my buddy Baldy had a chance to go to two interesting places over the last few days. One of them, Pittsburgh, the other, the New York Football Giants. And I want to start there, Baldy, because there is a lot of excitement about the Pittsburgh Steelers and where they are with their new quarterback in Kenny Pickett. A lot of people think he's going to take the next step in year two. He's going to take a jump. So let's start with your visit to the Steelers and my man Mike Tomlin, who a lot of people say, by the way, when I wear my visors, I look just like him.
We'll see if there's a doppelganger there or not. I've got this extra large cup of coffee here this morning, Carl, because it was that kind of a week so far. But it's just one of those weeks where, you get in your car and you drive to Pittsburgh and they got to walk through and, early in the day at 10 o'clock in the morning. Then they got a big practice in the afternoon. So you're around and then I did a TV show there. So I was there all day. So I get there and I got invited to come, so I couldn't turn it down. But I go out there for a walkthrough and Tomlin's out there and, the offense is kind of breaking it down. Kenny Pickett comes right up to me, introduces himself. I never met Kenny Pickett, but he knew who I was. And, we're in the facility where, he spent his entire college career. You see the Pitt Panther banners up there and Kenny Pickett, the ACC player of the year. I mean, his picture and name is all over the place. Of course, on the other side, it's all the Hall of Famers from the Steelers. So it's, it's a unique place. And, the college players are still there. I got a chance to meet Kalijah Cansey this year, guys that came out of that program. And so, people recognize me. They know some of the things that I've done. So it's good like that. But, the thing about – so I was talking to Mike Tomlin, and it's kind of interesting because he comes up to me and he's like – he goes, Baldy, these kids, you got to understand that these guys are in transfer portals. They're here. They're in this program, they're in that program. They don't know anything. You have to assume that they don't know anything about the game. Like they had a period the other day where there's a 2-minute drill and a rookie receiver catches the ball and he's down the ground. He just gets up. He's not tackled. And he just, throws the ball to the official. And Mike's like, you're in the NFL, son. Like, this isn't a first down. Like, the clock didn't stop. Like, just the basics.
Yeah.
So he's like, but to Mike's credit, he's like, I've got to teach more now than I've ever had to teach to get these kids up to speed. And then I got to find new ways to teach because some of the old ways get old or they're not effective, or I've got to start earlier in the evolution of becoming an NFL player. And I just had that in mind the entire day. And so when you're around this team, they're very youthful. They have, Broderick Jones is 21-year-old left tackle, and Nick Herbig is a 22-year-old pass rusher. And Jalen Warren in his second year, backing up Najee, who's in his, third year. And, George Pickens and Pickett. And you just go through the roster, and then this Keanu Benton that they drafted out of Wisconsin, who they're super high on. And you just start looking at key guys on this roster and you go, man, they're young, but they got the right coach. They have the right culture. Like you could see these kids growing up very quickly around Cam Hayward, and around TJ, and around some real veteran guys that are there and established. And so it's just an exciting thing because when they practice now, I've been to 6 different OTAs. I haven't seen a practice like this. I mean, you might as well put the pads on. Like they get after it. And Tomlin is everywhere, Carl. Like he's like, they're running a 2-minute drill. And he's like, all right, there's 38 seconds left. Like, here's the situation. Bam. Like teaching situational football, making sure everybody understands the situation, where we're at. We're down to the 4-yard line. We got 1 play left. What are you doing defensively? Like huddling the defense up. Like you can't give up 6. You can't do the penalty thing. Just taking every moment possible to like teach, to learn a situation here that might come up in a game that might not, and so it as a as a fan, as an analyst, as a guy that loves the game, I couldn't get enough. I simply couldn't get enough watching it, And so I just if Kenny Pickett takes any kind of a step, and he played really good in the second half of the season, won some big games for him. Like if he plays with the level of consistency that anybody needs at that position, and what they've done on the offensive line, how they've upgraded it, the heavy competition on the defensive and offensive lines, which both needed to be upgraded, this is going to be a highly competitive team.
So Matt Canada is the OC, right? He's there. What is he trying to do? What is he trying to do there with the guys that they have? Everybody has a philosophy. I feel like he'll be better in year 2 with his quarterback, like you talked about. But what is he trying to get accomplished? Because I think he's got one of the most talented wide receivers in Pickett. Not Pickett, but Pickens. And those two had a connection last year. It seemed like that could be a tandem that you're going to have to deal with. Talk to me about Matt Canada and his Steeler offense, because that's really where I think the key is. Listen, TJ's going to get sacks. Hayward's going to – you talked about it. They're going to be able to get stops, I think, defensively. Are they going to be able to score points in the red zone and move the football when they need to? And I think that's going to be the big thing for the Steelers. What do you think?
I agree, but I think it's going to start with a really strong rushing attack. Like I think the offensive line has been addressed. Isaac Seumalo, Broderick Jones, Nate Herbig, competition at a lot of spots. I think they're going to get a pretty good 5 up front. I think Najee is like we haven't seen his best football. Like he's a worker. He's got a great attitude. He's great. He's not Jerome Bettis yet, but he's got a personality like the bus. Okay. Like it's a little bit, it's pretty big. He's a fun guy to be around. Guys gravitate towards him. He has a good time at practice, but he's an enormous, powerful man. Jaylen Warren is a good number 2. They're looking for a third back. I think it starts with the running game, Carl. This Darnell Washington is just this massive, oak tree at tight end for him right now. And, they've got Freiermuth and they've got Zach Gentry. They've got huge tight ends that can do multiple things. I feel like they could become – and you've got to run the ball in November and December in that division just because of the conditions, the weather. You don't know what's coming at you. You remember like week 15 last year, they played the Raiders. That was the weekend that they were supposed to celebrate Franco Harris. It was, right. I don't know, minus 15 degrees there. I mean, it was bitter, and it was hard to throw the football. And so, you better establish it. I think they're going to run the ball in a variety of ways more effectively. And then from that, you've got Pickens, you got Deontay Johnson, you got Allen Robinson. I mean, you've got some dogs now that can go get it. And so, whether it's play action, whether it's moving Pickett, just watching him, he's got good movement. Even when he was at Pitt for 48 starts, like he moves well. He's not a runner, but he's got the ability to keep plays alive. He's got good eyes. So I think, if things do break down or if they want to extend plays on bootlegs or whatever, like he's pretty good on the move.
What do you think about the addition of Patrick Peterson in that secondary? I look at Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's a player when healthy. Joey Porter Jr., we've talked about him on this podcast, and when they drafted him, the legacy to the Steelers. And now you add, Patrick Peterson. I'm looking at that secondary, and I'm going, okay, have they upgraded? How much better is that secondary going to be, Baldy?
Well, so, Joey Porter Jr., you can't help but notice him out there. He's not wearing number 24. And, there's just not many guys playing on the edge built like that, 6'2.5" with long arms. But, so it's good that Patrick Peterson is there because I think he could be a mentor to Joey, because there's just fundamentals. There's just so much to learn out there. The raw talent and ability is there. And now you need to be in a room through walkthroughs with a guy that has seen it all like Patrick Peterson has. They also have this young player that they picked up from Purdue, Corey Trice. Corey Trice, 7th round pick, I don't just recall, but he wears number 27. Like he is a clone of Joey Porter. Like he's 6'2.5". He can flat out run. He's long. They might end up by the end of the season starting 2 rookie corners out there that are both kind of like cut from the same cloth. Big, long, fast, and talented. And so I think Patrick Peterson is there to kind of be the mentor. He can still line up a play. He's not what he used to be. But I think he's got a real good role in that group right there right now.
Baldy, let's shift gears and talk about the New York Football Giants. You had a chance to visit them as well. I think, all the conversation about Daniel Jones, let me say this. Joe Shane, the general manager, did an excellent job of not overpaying Daniel Jones. He did. Daniel Jones, I think, got a fair deal. Obviously, he's not a top 5 quarterback, but he's not in the bottom half of the quarterback tier either. And so he got a fair deal. But there's a lot of talk right now about Saquon Barkley not being happy about being tagged and whether or not he's going to get his deal. So tell me what you learned about the Giants, because, listen, that's a playoff team. They got beat, all 3 times they played the Eagles last year. The Eagles were just a better team. But that doesn't mean that they won't come back and look different, maybe be more productive offensively with the weapons they now have acquired, if they can get this Saquon Barkley situation figured out. He is tagged, guys. He could play under the tag. I don't know what's going to happen. They have until July 17th to get a deal done. Baldy, what do you know?
Well, let's just take Saquon Barkley out of it for a second, okay?
All right.
Because obviously, he is a huge part of it, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I went to the Giants yesterday, Carl, and so the first guy I see, like just as a fan, the first guy I see is Darren Waller. He's wearing number 12. Like he's just different. Like, to be that big, fast, and smooth in everything he does, it just captures your attention. But when I was there, I started thinking about something Bill Parcells used to say when he was coach of the Giants. He's always very blunt about everything. So Monday nights, it was the coaching staff and their game planning for the upcoming opponent. And he used to say this. He goes, and he's looking at the next team, and he'd go, okay, who's the problem players? Like, who's a problem? And that's how Belichick came up with this whole thing. Like, all right, we got it. Here's a problem. Let's take this guy out of the equation. Let's see what we can do to limit his production. And last year when I went up there, the only problem player I could see was Saquon. And we didn't know if Saquon was going to return to form until he did. So you'd go up to Giants practice, and there was nobody that said it was a problem. Now you go up there and you go, okay, there's Darren Waller. He's a problem. Saquon, he's a problem. You look defensively. Kayvon in his second year looks like a problem. They drafted Deonte Banks at corner. Like, he's going to be really good. They have these 2 massive guys in the middle, and Big Cat Williams and Dexter Lawrence, and they brought in Raheem Nunez-Roches. Like, they're good in the middle, and they signed Bobby Okereke. Like, they have like, even the defense coordinator, Wink Martindale, had texted me. He goes, we're starting to look like a professional football team, Baldy. And they have, like, the talent level. If you just said slot receiver, okay, slot receiver, Paris Campbell, you can't help but notice his speed. He's wearing number 0. Number 0 is just a blur. Now, he's had injury history at Indianapolis, but he's a 4.3 40 slot receiver. Then you have Wan'Dale Robinson, who was really good for him before he got hurt last year. Yeah. And then they have Jamison Crowder. Like, there's competition there. Then there's Darius Slayton on the outside, Isaiah Hodgins, and they drafted Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. Like, there's competition there. And then there's Waller and Bellinger. And you go, man, like, if Daniel Jones, he ran for more yards than any quarterback in the league last year. He ran for over 800 yards because he had to. It was the way that Brian Daboll decided, like, this is the best way to win games. We'll keep the defense off the field. We don't have anybody that can cover. We're playing guys off the street. Let's possess the ball. Let's run the ball. Let's control the ball. And Daniel Jones cut his turnovers way down. He was a big part of the run game. But I feel like now they can drop back and throw it, Carl. Like, I don't know if they're at the Eagles yet, but they're going to be much more competitive with the Eagles. They took down the Vikings in Minnesota in a playoff game. Like, they're going to be much better. And they're talented now. I mean, Azeez Ojulari, Kayvon Thibodeau on the edge.
Yeah,
you look at Dory Jackson and Deonte Banks and Xavier McKinney's back there, and you go, wow, they got a secondary this year. I mean, last year they were taking guys like Fabian Moreau off the street and plugging and playing them because they had to. But now I'm watching Wink like with some overload blitzes yesterday and some pressures because they can hold up on the outside, I think, a little bit better than they have. So they're going to be a team that I know people are down in the NFC and all that. I'm not down on the Giants at all. If they get this Saquon Barkley situation figured out, and I don't know, like Saquon basically is going to have two choices: play for the $10 million tag or withhold his services. And I can't see Saquon withholding his services. And I don't know what the figure is for a deal. Like, I just don't think they're going to give him Christian McCaffrey money. Like, I just don't know if that makes sense. Because, and I don't want to downgrade Saquon. Like, but he shouldn't get a discount because he wants to be in New York and he's a Giant. He wants to be there forever. Like, he's not going to take a player discount because of that. So I don't know how Joe Shane is going to get this rectified, but I know Joe's pretty sharp and pretty smart, and I know the Giants won him. So I feel like week 1 against the Cowboys, Saquon will be in the lineup one way or the
I agree.
other.
No, I agree. Listen, the rumor is, and guys, it's in the huddle. Subscribe, like us, tell your friends about us. We put new episodes out usually on Tuesday and Thursdays. This week, a little bit different. Baldy was on the road, and we have stuff going on, but we definitely get episodes out, and make sure you subscribe so you can get the new episodes. And we're on YouTube, by the way, at www.youtube.com/@InTheHuddlePod, P-O-D, and check us out there. Baldy, the thing about Saquon, though, the rumor is that he allegedly, okay, we don't know this for sure, turned down 12. They offered 12. And then somehow that number went to 14. And the reason why he spoke this week, and it wasn't at Giants minicamp, it was, he was somewhere else. But he is frustrated with the information that's come out that it didn't come from him. Like, somehow it came from the organization. And listen, we know how these things work. Sometimes teams go, hey, we offered this dude, and he doesn't want what we offered. So we're going to put it out there so the fan base knows we are trying to get a deal done. So whether it was 14 or 16, to your point, it's not McCaffrey money. It's not 16, So I don't know if Saquon is like, look, I do everything that guy does. Why can't I get that? So I don't know what the number is either, but I'm hoping that they come to a long-term agreement for Saquon's sake, because at that position, guys just don't last. He could play his butt off this year and then next year have a fall off, and all of a sudden, the money is not there. So from that standpoint, I hope he gets it. But from the Giants standpoint and a team standpoint, and if I'm a fan of the Giants, I like what they're doing. I like how they're building, to your point, and what they're trying to do. And I think Brian Daboll showed everybody last year, Baldy. He's legit. He's legit.
I mean, I think I might have said this, in a former podcast with you, Carl, but I went up to training camp twice last year. And I came away both times saying this could be the worst team in football. Like, honestly, there was nothing. Like, they couldn't. Like, if Wink blitzed the offense, they literally couldn't do anything. Like, they couldn't. Like, they looked awful. I don't care what part of the practice. Offensively, it looked a mess. And defensively, I knew there were holes everywhere. At middle linebacker, at corner. As talented as Wink is, like, he still needs horses. He still needs players. And so, and then the way that they started playing and the way that they kind of got competitive and then started winning, like, it was a masterful, it was what coaching's supposed to be. All right, what do we have? How do we maximize what we have? I mean, it's just that simple. And I saw Daboll do that. And then I saw the way players became more confident, because they had major injuries. Thibodeau got hurt in preseason. He wasn't starting the season. Xavier McKinney broke his hand like on a four-wheel accident on a bye week. I mean, they lost key players. And yet they kept it together. They had guys off the street, Richie James off the street, Isaiah Hodgins, who were throwing the ball to, a rookie tight end who got hurt, but he was a good player. And Daniel Jones had his best year. And I said, the quarterback got better. The team improved. You're playing rookies everywhere. Like, that was, to me, the coach of the year, period. And it totally sold me going forward that he's the right guy and he's in lockstep with Joe Shane. And for the first time in a long time, the Giants felt like they were aligned the correct way. General manager, coach, quarterback, system, like it's being rebuilt in front of us. And I feel like they got a strong foundation. And I think, everything is on the up right now.
Before we get to what's going on in Buffalo, which is kind of interesting, we're going to talk about what Kirk Cousins had to say as well in Minnesota. Were you surprised Wink didn't take a head coaching job? I know he was a hot candidate coming off the playoff run. Were you surprised he didn't try to leave or that he didn't leave? Because I know he had chances.
So I'm pretty close with Wink, and I've known him a long time. And there's no question he wants a chance at a head coach, just the way Mike Zimmer got one or Vic Fangio later in their careers. Like, he wants to be a head coach, but he also is smart enough to know not every job is the right job. And so, there's got to be certain things in place, whether it's the ownership or whether it's how they're run or the culture. Like, he understands that if he takes a job, it's probably some kind of a turnaround, but not all turnarounds are the same either. And so I think Wink is fine where he's at. I think he enjoys working with Brian Daboll. I think he really respects the organization, but not every job is. Some jobs, like Denver, wasn't a good job for Vic Fangio. It just wasn't. And so there's certain things that you have to have in place. There was an ownership issue in Denver. Was last year. Even for the coach that was there, Nathaniel Hackett. Like, that stuff has to be straightened out. You could go around this league right now and look at some ownership groups and you go, man, I don't know about that, And so I think that's kind of what Wink was looking at. And he comes from Baltimore. He's been around the league. He's been to the Raiders. Like, there's got to be certain things in place for him to take a head job.
Yeah, great point, Baldy, about, jumping at these jobs. And it's why a lot of these young guys who get jobs don't succeed. Sean McVay he's the exception to the rule, right? He's super young, gets the job. You look at, Cliff Kingsbury, right? Gets an opportunity, goes to Arizona. It doesn't last because of some of the things that you're talking about are just not in place. So everybody looked at McVay and said, we want that. We want a 34, 36, 5-year-old guy to come in here and do what he's doing. And it's just far few in between where you see that have long-term success because of the things that you're talking about. Brian Baldinger, Carl Dukes with you guys. It's in the huddle. We're talking about all things NFL. This week has been interesting because of the mandatory mini camps around the league. Coaches trying to get the work in. You heard Baldy a lot of teaching going on, a lot of stuff before you get back to camp at the end of July. And some of these teams, like the Jets, will start before that because they're getting ready for the Hall of Fame game. So let's talk about Buffalo real quick. I think they're a contender. I think that they're built to go to a Super Bowl. And last year, I was on the Bills heavy saying if they get home field advantage, they'll get there. They got home field advantage and got beat by the Bengals, and soundly beat. So they come back. They address needs in the offseason with free agency. Obviously, I thought they drafted well. But now this week, Baldy, and I don't know what to make of it, so I want to get your take on this. It comes out that Stefon Diggs allegedly was not at the first day of mandatory minicamp. And that really wasn't the story, guys. The story was that his quarterback, Josh Allen, came out and said, Steph's my guy. And we need to do a better job, and I'm paraphrasing here, of communicating in this organization, which then made everybody think, well, what's going on with Coach and Diggs? So yesterday, Coach Sean McDermott comes out and says, this is resolved. It's over. And I know he's trying to put an end to this, but Baldy, this is kind of weird. He was there. He wasn't there. Okay, he showed up the second day of minicamp. The last thing the Bills need is distractions. That's the last thing they need.
So it's very bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. Because what you just phrased there, Carl, like what's it? What's it? Like, because both Josh Allen and Von Miller addressed it. The coach addressed it. And so what is Stefon's beef? Because nobody knows. And so it's resolved. It's over. He was in the building. He left. He went home. He was excused. It's over. Well, okay. I mean, you can cover it up, however you want to cover it up. But the fact that the quarterback has to come out and sort of defend him, like, we know he's your boy. We could tell. I mean, that's easy.
Right.
Like, go to practice, watch a game, watch them jump into each other's arms. No, they're like two kids finishing each other's sentences. We know they like each other. We know they enjoy playing with one another. Von Miller feels the need to come out and say, I wouldn't be part of the Bills Mafia if it wasn't for Stefon Diggs. Well, what we need to hear from is Stefon. Like, what is it? Like, because if you just say, okay, we're going to keep it in-house, well, there's a problem if you just keep it in the house. Because these guys are coming out and saying everything's fine, and he's our boy. Okay, but this is the team game. Everybody's at minicamp. Like, this is the end of the spring. We've got a 5-week break when we start the season. Things aren't right for whatever reason, whatever that is. How, whether it's the way the team is built. We saw issues with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and how the team was built. Some guys feel a need to say things, or the way that he's used, or the system, or something's not right. And it's a bad way to leave for the summer. It just is. And I'm not here to dump on Stefon Diggs. I'm a big fan of his. And, you know, he's welcome in my film room anytime. He knows that. But the type of behavior that we're witnessing leads to us and hundreds of other people that do this for business, for living, speculating.
Wondering. Yep.
And so that's the worst thing, because then you get a lot of mistruths coming out there about, well, he's not happy. Well, they shut down the contract thing. It's not about a contract. Well, okay. It's minicamp. Like, let's go put this thing to bed. Let's go put it to rest, and let's go get ready for the season. But the way that it ended didn't end well. And you just wonder, is there a carryover to the season right now?
It's a great point. I said this, Baldy, when this happened the other day. Part of this is, and I know fans don't think about this stuff like this, but if there is strife and you leave and you come back and now camp starts, still some animosity. The best teams and the best coaches get that crap out. You got a problem with me? I got a problem with you. Here's the deal. Boom. Coach, sorry. We dap it up and we keep it moving. But the guys that keep it in and the coaches that keep it in, and then you get back to the season, and then all of a sudden there's an issue during the season, and people go, well, why isn't the offense performing the way it should? Well, go back to minicamp when Stefon Diggs said, hey, I got an issue, and nobody wanted to talk about it. So to your point, they got to get this resolved internally. I don't need to know. I'd like to hear from Stefon about what happened, but they got to get this resolved, because, again, there's too much talent in the building for them to be clowning around and having their number one wide receiver who's making, $18 or $20 million a year, causing issues, and then having the quarterback and the star, edge rusher having to defend him. That's not a good spot.
It's not a good spot. And, if you go back to that loss against Cincinnati at home, it was an ugly loss. I mean, they scored 10 points. They weren't competitive. Stefon Diggs wasn't happy. His behavior on the sideline was indicative. But they got beat in the trenches in that game badly. And so, they addressed some of it in the draft and free agency in the offensive line. Some changes in the defense line. Getting Vaughn back healthy will certainly help. A big part of defense. Middle linebacker's gone. I mean, there's some changes. The defense coordinator is taking a sabbatical. It's weird. I'm a big fan of Leslie Frazier. But it's a little bit bizarre.
Yeah.
He's just going to step away for whatever reason. Sean McDermott's going to call the defense. That's an issue. I don't know if it's good or bad. I mean, Sean McDermott has called plays before he could do it, but it's a change. So it'll be. I mean, we're all going to be watching. Like, what is a carryover? Is there a carryover? And what is missing? Because there's something missing there right now.
All right, Baldy, I want to talk about Kirk Cousins. And you just said you're not dumping on the Bills. I'm not going to dump on Kirk Cousins, but I was just not a believer last year, even with all the things he did. Guys, he threw for over 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns. They were first in their division. We know how this played out. Baldy, they won more one-score games, I think, than anybody else in the league, right? Those one-score games.
Including one, Carl, that they were down 31-0 in.
That's right. Correct. That's right.
Against the Colts.
So Now I just want you to take out 1,173 yards from Dalvin Cook. Whoop, that's gone. And Kirk Cousins has come out and basically said, listen, I'm going to play out my contract and I'll be a free agent, next year. And I'll see where this thing takes me. I don't know how much better the Minnesota Vikings are minus Dalvin Cook, but I know that's a lot that you're taking out of that offense. So I actually think there's more pressure on Kirk Cousins, despite how good Justin Jefferson is and the other guys that are there. But for Kirk Cousins, he's made a lot of money, right? I mean, you talk about how his situation has played out. Yes. Franchise tag, right? He's made a lot of money. Guaranteed deal, $80 million. But the winning's not there. Like in the biggest moments, Baldy, the winning is not there. And I wonder what Kirk Cousins is doing this offseason to try to make sure that if he gets back into that situation, he can deliver, that he can make those plays. And I think as much as we talk about Minnesota, still a quarterback league, guys. Part of this is you either buy into the quarterback or you don't. If you put Patrick Mahomes in that situation last year, Baldy, I'm putting money down and saying he's going to come through. You put Joe Burrow in that position last year where Kirk Cousins was in, I'm going, he's going to come through. There are just certain guys. Even at this point, I believe in Trevor Lawrence that way because I think he's got the confidence to make those throws. What do you make of the Kirk Cousins situation saying that he isn't going to talk contract until March?
Well, he's just at this, we thought that the Vikings might very well draft a quarterback this year and to start grooming him, because the end is near. Kevin O'Connell, the general manager, like Quezzy, like they're not tied to Kirk Cousins. They saw, if anybody knows anything, Kevin O'Connell saw a Matt Stafford come to Los Angeles and win a Super Bowl and come in and play really great football. And so, like, he's seen what that's like. He's tied to Kirk because he was in Washington with them and he knows, his evolution. But we're at the end with Kirk. Kirk has said this multiple times that, he's basically a 500 quarterback with a real sketchy playoff record. And he knows that when you get paid the type of money that he's been paid, you got to play better in the postseason. Now, defensively, they were awful last year. And so the Giants went up down the field. They scored. They beat them at home. And it was an ugly end to what was a pretty good season. But we all thought they were kind of frauds all year long. Kirk was part of it because in the big games, is he giving you that Mahomes performance, a Joe Burrow performance? Not really. And so there's room to upgrade there. But it's interesting, Zadarius Smith is gone. Dalvin Cook is out.
Yep.
Kirk isn't re-signed. I feel like this thing is being reshaped and rebuilt on the fly. And Kirk is going to be the next guy to be gone. Like, he can play it out. And, if he has a phenomenal season, maybe there's a market for Kirk next year someplace, and maybe it's Minnesota. But, if you listen to the rumors, maybe Danielle Hunter can be had right now. So, this is a team that is on the change. And they've got pieces. Adam Thielen is gone. They've got pieces in Justin Jefferson, and you could point to some defensive players. Eric Kendricks is gone. Like the foundation to this team has just been slowly chipped away. And so I feel like Kirk is just going to be part of that chip. He's going to be the next one to get chipped away.
All right, Baldy, before we get out of here, I just want to mention Lamar. He talked about playing with OBJ and how he feels about, getting this opportunity. He feels like the offense is going to be better, obviously at minicamp, which a lot of people didn't think he would be there, right? We didn't know if he'd get the deal and all that stuff, and it's all played out. But you went and visited the Steelers, and I just want to give some love to this division because I don't know what the best division in football is going to be. It may be, the East this year. I don't know. With the Eagles and the Cowboys being really good, and if the Giants are on the come, you could have 3 teams back in the playoffs from that division again. But I think the Cleveland Browns are going to be better. I think the Steelers are going to be better. Certainly, I know what Cincinnati is, and if Lamar stays healthy, that division is a juggernaut because I think all 4 of those teams, the way that they play, and so I'm looking at this and I'm going, all right, how many games get you in the playoffs in that division? Like, you got to win 11 in that division? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, is a 9-game, 9 wins in that division, because you got to play everybody twice, and they could, everybody could split. You just don't know, especially at home. But I look at that division and I go, maybe this might be the toughest division in football, Baldy. What do you think?
I think it's the toughest division, top to bottom. Between the coaches. I mean, look, how many different divisions have Super Bowl winning coaches in it? If you look at Harbaugh, you look at Tomlin, and then you look in Cincinnati at, what Zach has done, and he's been to a Super Bowl. And so,
yep.
Just from the coaching standpoint, like it's all there. Lamar is, obviously he's there and he's excited. But if you just look at what is around him right now, Mark Andrews has been his go-to guy, no question about it. But, Rashad Bateman's coming back from injury, number 1 pick. Odell Beckham has been a star in this league. He wants to be there. He wants to play with Lamar. He's got that chance. And then they draft Zay Flowers. Like, you've got 3 high number 1 draft picks at receiver now with a Pro Bowl tight end. And then with a team that's been built around the run. Now, Greg Roman's gone. Here's Todd Monken. All right. Does the change the coordinator? Because Lamar, flat out, if he wants to get to the postseason and win in the postseason, he's got to throw the ball better. And they've got to be a better passing team. He could, once again, they could lead the league in rushing. They've done all that. It didn't make any difference in the postseason. So, they have to improve the passing game. And this would be a real departure from what Greg Roman did. And to Greg's credit, and I like Greg Roman, he just played to his strengths. All right, Lamar's a beast. They can't defend him. We've got good backs. Our offense line is built to run. We got this 300-pound, fullback tight end that seals the edge for us. We have all these different plays. Nobody can really stop them. But we can't throw the ball for chunks. So they're going to get that chance now. And Odell's going to get a chance to become a number 1 wide receiver again in this offense and be the alpha male, which he's capable of doing. He's just listening to Odell now. He's all grown up. He's like a real man. Yeah. The childish stuff is gone. He's evolved. You kind of love to see it. He's a responsible, real adult right now. And there was questions whether that was going to happen during his career, but he's that guy. And so Lamar's got everything he could possibly want, including a big fat contract. You got to go watch him do it. And I saw signs before the injury last year that he was becoming a better thrower from the pocket. Well, he's got to take that step this year, and it remains to be seen if he can do that.
Yeah, that division's a beast, man. It just is. Guys, subscribe in the huddle. Like us, tell your friends. We're here every week, Tuesday and Thursdays. We'll be here during the offseason, and we'll be talking about all the things that, leading up to training camp. And then once we get to camp, we're making our rounds, we're doing all the things, and then it gets really fun because now you're gearing up for the season, and it's all business. Baldy, this. It's funny because, talking to coaches now and having, buddies, you're just talking to them. Everybody's relaxed, right? Yeah. Everybody's just laid back and everybody's having a good time. Oh, Dukes, I'm having a great time. How you doing? Call them during the season. Can't take your call, right?
No, I'm busy. Call. In this league right now, if you lose 2 games in a row, the sky's falling. The amount of pressure that's on everybody in the organization if you lose 2 in a row. Remember 2 years ago, the Rams, who won the Super Bowl, they lost 3 games in the middle of the season. And they lost badly. The 49ers just whipped them. Yep. They lost to Tennessee. They went to a 3-game losing streak. And Sean McVay, who was on the podium holding the Lombardi trophy 2 months later, it was he didn't want to come out of the lab. He didn't have the answers, and they figured it, to their credit, they figured it out, and they got back. But look, here's the message that every coach, if mini camps are finishing today's Thursday, the 15th of June, Carl. But this is the message every coach has given their team. Come back in shape, please. I don't want to read about you in the news.
Don't do anything stupid.
Yep. Don't do anything stupid. Yep. Go enjoy yourself. Take time off. Enjoy your family, your friends, whatever. Just take some trips. Stay out of the news. Come back in shape. That's it. That's it for the next 5 weeks. But yes, it's all smiles right now, but
It is.
it changes as soon as the injuries, the adversity, the losing, as soon as that starts to mount for anybody, it changes immediately.
Baldy, great stuff, man. We will talk to you guys next week. Make sure you are here. We will have guests that we're going to reach out to along the way as well and try to bring on some folks to give us some more perspective here on the pod. In the Huddle, Carl Dukes, along with Brian Baldinger, of course, Jason Canfora, part of this podcast as well. Guys, thank you for being here. We'll talk to you next week.